and welcome to the Hennessey Podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I always forget to do that, and then I don't pause it. Well, hello, and welcome to the Hennessey Podcast. My name is Alex, your self-proclaimed host. It's great to be back. We're on episode 30. We're getting crazy. We're being consistent. It's great to be here on this podcast show. And we have a very special guest today, Mr. Jack Ultramotive.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and I have so many questions to ask you because I actually don't really know you that well.
Say less.
We've done some fun car stuff. We've spent a few minutes here together, but I have lots of questions to ask you. First of all, what is your actual name?
Jack.
Jack.
Yeah, Jack. I usually don't push my last name or anything like crazy, but yeah, this is
cool.
Yeah, my name is actually Jack.
All right, good to know.
Yeah.
So Jack came to us. How did we officially originally get connected?
Like you and me directly, or just
you and Hennessy? Yeah.
It was. I had the idea that I wanted to send my car here.
Heck yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think my first ever interaction before I even knew that I was going to send my car here was I went up to John at Quail and just more so for the sake of a fun clip, kind of like when like, hey, like, could there be some interest? I'd love to like maybe like send my car down or something like that. And he was like super busy at the time. So yeah, he just like gave me a card and that was like kind of whatever that. But yeah, later down the line, I decided that, let's make it happen. Let's try it out.
Sweet. Yeah. So Jack, as you just heard, he had a Camaro Z01.
Yep.
6-speed.
Yep.
And it was bone stock at the time.
Yep.
And you sent it to us for the Hennessy Exorcist package, which is 1,000 horsepower out of a ZL1. The Exorcist, if you don't know the history, is derived from an idea of the Demon. So the Dodge had the Demon in 2018. John Hennessy had an idea of, well, let's beat the Demon. How do you beat a Demon? And exorcism. So thus the Exorcist was born. The original Demon went like 970 in the quarter mile, and the original Exorcist did like 957. So we beat the record way back when. This is like 2017. So pretty cool. Built lots of them since then. Been awesome. And you got yours built, you got it wrapped in a tan color, and then I just kept seeing really cool and fun videos of you driving the crap out of it.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm naturally going to do to any car. I just, I think having a lot of this crazy stuff happen at a young age, like for me, it all feels surreal and I want to take the maximum advantage of it all. So I want to actually go out there, use these cars to their full potential and definitely just not have them sit around.
Definitely.
So yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love to hear that. There's too many car owners, car collectors that just let them sit too much.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like even a surprising amount out of like some of the cars that come out of here.
Yeah. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad, but I mean, to each their own. I get it.
Yeah.
So you are a young guy. I would say, how old are you?
24.
Okay, so 24, rocking a Hennessy Exorcist. What else is in your fleet?
Right now, I've had my R32 Skyline GTR.
Sweet.
A 2018 Ford Raptor.
Nice.
I just got like a 2009 Honda Civic SI, like for like 11 grand, but we have a little project in mind for that. And then I have also 2009, but on the other end, Lamborghini Murcielago LP640.
Sweet.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to dive into each one of these. So tell me about the R32. What's the build on that? There's no way it's stock, right?
Yeah, no, it's more stock, but it's had some stuff. I always it was kind of my outlet of having a more old school project car, JDM car at the time. The only other thing I had when I got it was a new Focus RS. So this car was very different, and I took it to my last day of high school. I made a video about that. It blew up everywhere. It had like 10 million views. So a lot of people will associate me with like that car. And then that car's been through a lot, blew the motor. It now has a newer R34 GTR RB26 in there.
Nice.
And we left that pretty stock. So that motor has like slightly bigger turbos and everything, but the whole big thing was like reliability.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to ruin the car in that kind of sense. And then of course it's got a ton of other cosmetic additions and stuff for it. But I think it became kind of a halo car of my channel in a lot of ways. And so I try and tell people that's the forever car.
That's cool.
So I want to hold on to.
Was that the first car or the main car that really got you momentum in the creator space? Or did you already have kind of some momentum before that?
I had momentum from my gaming videos, and that's what really
gotcha.
grew my YouTube following. And I guess the numbers, if you were to just have numbers be numbers. But yeah, getting myself into the car community, having like my face get more out, the people get to, other either YouTubers or just other people in the culture. That car really, like when I got it, I mean, back in 2018 was when I got it. They were like half the price than they were now.
Yeah.
I was literally paying, I picked that car up for like 25 back then, and my Focus RS, I bought that new, so that was like a 40 grand car.
Yeah.
So this Skyline really was this like, let's try out this little cheap project thing.
Right.
Didn't have any idea that like the amount of attention and the appreciation and stuff was gonna skyrocket for that car more so than the other stuff.
That's awesome. So I didn't even actually know that about you. You started in the creator space with video game stuff.
Yep.
What kind of gaming stuff?
Like the Forza franchise. That's the main thing. I mean, when I first created this channel, I was like 12 years old.
Yeah.
And, I saved up all summer to get a little capture recording software. And we were already having a lot of like weekend nights just gaming as like a little group in middle school and stuff like that.
What year was this, roughly?
This is like 2013.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and and we would, and I just post whatever we played as far as whether it be like Minecraft or Forza or shooter games and stuff like that. But I'd always been in the cars. And when the release of Horizon 3 came out in like 2017, I was very determined to be like, I'm just going to go all in on just posting this game and kind of like grow a more like automotive gaming, like specific audience because it just aligns with my interests.
Yeah.
And that was like, that really did take things off. It took us from like I'd say like 50 to 60,000 subscribers all the way up to like 700,000 in the span of like a couple years, like mainly just on Horizon 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
So like at that point, what age were you at that point?
I would have been like 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and
you
that
were
was
like
the same. That was the same. I was in high school and I was saving up for like, first there was like initial like YouTube checks where it's like, okay, I can go buy myself a new console or like a new phone. And then when it came to my parents being like, you should just at least like save it for like a car or something way bigger.
Yeah.
It seemed like, how is this ever, like, when is this ever going to happen? I thought I was going to get like I at least had my eyes on like a cheap Focus ST first, but everything took off that year. So I was able to like fortunately buy a brand new RS, new from dealership.
That's awesome. Dang. So you became a car YouTuber before you could even drive from Forza, which is pretty cool.
I had my dad drive the RS out of the dealership because I didn't know manual.
Yeah. Okay.
And they were all stick. And I even like overthought it. I was like, do I really like, and it's like, and if you've ever been in this like dilemma, just suck it up and learn it.
Yeah,
just
of course.
because it is worth it.
It's a
100%.
dying art, and no one has ever learned manual and then just regretted it. Ever. Yeah. There's no way.
Yeah, yeah. Even like I've witnessed like girls and other people that aren't even in the cars at all, and it's just like it's such a fun skill set.
Fun skill set and very satisfying to like get right.
Yeah.
Like I remember I learned how to drive stick in a C6 Z06 with my brother.
Ooh.
And
was the clutch stiff?
I don't remember it being anything crazy, but I don't know.
So you picked up
that was a while
quick.
ago. Yeah, I picked it up pretty quick because I had ridden dirt bikes, so I conceptually knew how it worked, and I conceptually knew like, okay, I just gotta get to that kind of friction zone. But I don't know. It's just like a very formative car person experience, and I'll never forget it. And I mean,
well, it's a cool car to learn in.
Yeah, totally. But whether it's a Civic or, whatever, a Corolla or a Vet, I mean, it's just part of being a car person, I would argue. I mean,
and it is a dying thing, especially in this country.
Totally.
The percentage, what is it like? It's like 13% or something like super small. So it's 100% worth it. And I really enjoyed that car. I would say, I guess going back to the gaming videos, like what about them was taking off was that I just had a really good group where we would work together on really fun, creative challenges that I'd come up with and other people would come up with in the game, and kind of utilizing the game's online potential to the maximum. You ever see these like trailers for these online open world games, and you see all these fun things happening, but then you go play the game on your own and it's just not like that. The server is just, it's not like that. But we were actually kind of doing those things that you'd see in the trailers, like really like recreating movie scenes, playing like hide and seek in cars, playing all these challenges, and people seem to love that. And so, that really, I think, grew the following in that game.
Would you say that that initial audience that you had from like 12 to 16, 17, 18 years old, I would think you're going to say yes, but would you say that audience grew up with you and followed you and is now with you? Like, they're all probably your age.
Yeah, I'll be out at car events and stuff, and one of the most common things I'll get is, I watched you since Horizon 3, or I love, watching your Horizon 3 video. That's how I found you, all this kind of stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, I'd say a majority of people have just been along for the whole ride. And that's also why I also wanted to kind of expand from at that point I was posting only gaming videos, and when I was fortunate enough to then like have some fun cars of my own, and I wanted to kind of like get out into vlogging and posting real life stuff, because as these people also get older, I feel like I was getting into watching other automotive vloggers and stuff. My taste kind of changed a little bit, less from the gaming stuff, more into the real life stuff. And so with my passions, I was also thinking that other people that are growing up with me may also be interested in that. And so that's when around 2019, I would say I really kind of did a big shift, and a lot of my content was more vlogging based. And I completely shifted that channel to all automotive vlogging stuff. So it's the main channel that I have now with 1.7 something million subscribers now. You go on it and you'll see all these recent vlogs, but if you go far back enough, that's where all the big gaming videos were on the channel that blew it up. But now, or since then, people also still want to see the gaming stuff, and they still miss that. And so I just made another channel, and I still, I post both. Cool. So and it works out because automotive vlogging content is expensive.
Yeah.
And it's very saturated, and it's tough now. So everyone seems to have their kind of little edge, at least a lot of successful creators, whether it be a successful merch brand or they're doing giveaways or who knows what. But for me, at least, me having that gaming channel I'm still able to push out content to, and it earns, that's what at least helps me, because I just got to put in time.
Right.
And
Okay. That's awesome. So growing up now, I mean, you've been doing it for a long time. What's the business side of being a creator like?
It's tough to, a lot of these, I mean, right now, what's really it's crazy how there are things on YouTube that are just in and out, like pranks at one point took over the whole platform, and then who would think that a concept like that can just entirely fizzle out, but it really kind of did. And even vlogging now, I've noticed, has really kind of people, there's just so much out there, so I can understand why people may not be as interested in following as closely to every single person's lives out there. But automotive build content is just super in, whether it be people rebuilding cars or modifying them, kind of having a story attached to each car. And so that's definitely part of the automotive creation business, is requiring you to go out and buy and go through projects a lot. And there's a lot of money to be spent. In the past, I would probably let my personal interests take over the credit cards a little more than the business, just because I've always really had a passion for expressing my taste and just wanting to complete that car visually or aesthetically to my dream form. But right now I've been trying to really kind of strategize and try and find ways to have it be more business oriented and, work out the numbers. And that's why I'm doing this, a civic project, which is I think not only will it help me out financially, but also I think the interest will still be just as much there, because it's relatable and, and people can catch on.
Yeah. A lot of people can attain a civic versus I don't know, maybe not everybody can get a ZL1 or something. Yeah.
But I mean, part of the business too is a lot of planning, that the way that we have to go about these builds is different than a normal person that has all the time in the world to slowly save and add each part. And I honestly would recommend that you just like, one thing I'd advocate for is patience and getting the right stuff on your car with time. But for me, I try and like at least get like a whole ton of stuff all loaded in, and all my like at least like 2 to 3 videos like set to go as soon as that they could be posted right after I reveal the car. Because as an automotive creator, when you reveal a new car, you can at least be guaranteed that there's going to be a spike in interest. People are going to like, oh, we got a new car. That's like usually like a big deal.
You ride that wave.
So you got to like try and ride that wave as long as you can. So that requires like stockpiling all your stuff, having it all ready to go immediately after you reveal that. Yeah. And then posting stuff immediately after.
Like one day after, like, for the next week, you're gonna do
like,
one a day.
Maybe it'd be like every like 3 days or so, just because I know that if I did like one day, you'd have 3 days of like good content, and then you'd have like maybe like 2 weeks with nothing.
Got it.
But like getting the Exorcist, it worked out at that time period that like immediately afterward, not only did I, decide to just give a road trip for myself to, bring it back over west, but then there was Legends Rally that I took it on a rally right afterwards. So we had like a lot of good back-to-back content of like really kind of testing and just like showcasing that car right after it left here. And it all did like really well. But that's awesome. Kind of what you need. You gotta ride those good waves afterward.
Do you track the revenue generated per car? Like, would you know like your most profitable car?
I know the Camaro, it all depends on then what you'd get out of the car.
What you invested into it?
Yeah.
As well? Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's like right now with the car just sitting as is, for the value of everything that's been put into it, if I didn't sell it, technically it'd still probably be a negative. So depending on like if someday if I ever do whatever the returns on that could be, then you could more so argue. Okay. Maybe there's some cars that are cheap enough that you'd probably make more money on just without ever even having to get rid of the car or something on that end.
Yeah.
But I know for at least the content's sake, I'd say like content base alone, The Exorcist was probably one of the most profitable, just based on YouTube revenue, machines that I ever put out there.
Yeah.
The success on that really worked out. And I just went through a Porsche 997 Carrera S 2007 build on it. Yeah, and I only just sold it because I did get a really good offer on it, so I could at least now confidently say that like as a business project, that car did really well.
Nice.
But also that was just like almost every car I go through, like I believe in it in the sense that like it's a car that I genuinely enjoy to own. And I found that, if I've done a build that I didn't really believe in, I mean, the whole process just isn't even fun.
Right.
And so, and I think that passion reflects, people can catch on to that in the videos.
Content.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you strategic with the business accounting in the creator world? I've talked with Stradman about this, and he was actually an accountant before he started off in YouTube, so he kind of already knew that stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
Would you say you take advantage of that? Are you like in tune with that?
I'm probably not as much as I should be, or as much as other people are. I'm like, I don't really go into all the data and the analytics like too crazy, because sometimes I will. And I don't know, to me, the biggest takeaway of it is no matter how much data and how much strategy you can try and like, let's say I'm going to place this like statement right here and say this one thing or frame it this one way. At the end of the day, people just want to see a good idea and just good content, you know, like
they want to be entertained.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously once you have the good idea and the good content, you can then make sure at least you deliver it, appropriately. That will, give you the best advantage and stuff. But I'd say now, I'm more so like trying to focus more on making sure that, the numbers and the business side and the data and stuff, all that, is good. But I'd say in the past, like, for a while I was really just running around kind of doing whatever my interest was leading to. But I'm naturally a cautious person.
Okay, gotcha.
So people have asked me like, what's my biggest regret or like the biggest risk that I've taken? And I unfortunately don't really have that many like tragedies of that kind of nature where I've like, and I think that comes from that cautious taking. So even with me running around doing whatever, I'm not like, just blowing everything away or making dumb decisions. Yeah. But
gotcha. I've chatted with a lot of, creators over time, and I've kind of heard different perspectives of like, some guys just like just being solo. They shoot and edit and that's it. and they don't need anybody, which is great. And then some guys are like, no, I've got a team, I've got this and that. How do you operate?
I've operated super independently. I'm naturally a very hyper independent person. And so I've never had like any crazy management or anything like that. I've had an editor for some of my gaming videos for a little bit. And right now I've noticed that I just have more time. And so for me, just to justify it, it just makes more sense. This, like, if I have the time to do it, then I'll go in and do that. And so, yeah, I'd say for like, the main thing is like, yeah, I definitely always will value kind of having full control over like my vlog style real life content, just because, yeah, there is so many different ways I guess you could tell a story depending on who's either editing it or just, you know, who's kind of behind the whole creation process.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's tough because we've tried operating in various scenarios where we try and add on people, but at least like the level to which I operate hasn't ever really gone to a point where you know, financially it would make sense. And it's always like it's a tough balance because you hear from people. I mean, a lot of people will tell you, right? The more people you add on that could fill in jobs, that's how you grow and stuff like that. But we've tried various things, and sometimes we've found that like it's almost kind of a waste in one sense.
Gotcha.
But yeah, naturally, I would just say I'm super independent on that side.
Cool. Yeah.
But yeah.
Who are some of the creators that you've looked up to over time?
I've looked up to Strat a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, like living the dream out there with how he does it.
He's crushing it.
And I mean, I feel I want to say like similar tastes in the cars that he values and the stuff of that nature, but also like TJ Hunt too was an inspiration of like the vlogging side of things. Mm-hmm. AR12 Gaming was a Forza YouTuber that definitely got me into wanting to create similar styles of Forza content back in the day too, and then been fortunate enough to be able to collab with him and stuff throughout. So yeah, and yeah, being young and I did always make time to like keep up with these guys and tune in. So, and I know a lot of other YouTubers too that are just like, oh, I don't watch any YouTube or this or that. But yeah, usually in the past, I would definitely consume a lot of their content, and it would kind of inspire me or want me to get back out there.
So I want to go back to your Murcielago.
Yeah,
tell me about that.
That's always like it for me as far as that's the platform. I think like if you're going to spend like 6 figures on a car, something crazy, it's like, why would it not have doors that go up, have a screaming V12, have wings, and, be from the craziest brand. And I mean, yeah, and I was, even with being young, I was in the cars at a super young age. So for me, like prime, like when you're like the kid just freaking out over everything, like Mercy was in its prime back then. And I always fell in love with the simplicity of its design too. Mm-hmm. So I went through a couple R8s as far as like the exotic side of things. And when I was ready to sell my Gen 2, I kind of was like I was like, Mercies are automatic, LP640s are at least like, if I don't do it now, I may never have another opportunity to do it again because the prices have just kept been going up. And so, I found a car that was up in Canada, and it did have crash history and whatnot, but it was because I was up in Washington at the time. It was only like 3 hours away, and apparently like no one in the US market was really like eyeing that car being up in a different country. And I was able to easily import it back in because it was originally a US car. And so it passed all the emissions and the safety and all that kind of stuff. And so, that was like, it was a stressful day bringing it down. Zach was there like with me, and like it's like normally this day is like buying your epitome dream car, and it's like got to be the most magical thing in the world. But I was stressed because I was just like, what if something doesn't clear through? What if something doesn't work out? And this is a scenario where I've usually had like I've been able to like fortunately have like my dad be able to help out when it comes to big adult stuff or whatever. But trying to import a Lamborghini Murcielago, and it's not like he would have any experience or knowledge on that matter whatsoever. So I was fully like independent on my own, trying to work out all the paperwork, the business, all getting
and you were through. That was recently, or
that was actually like a couple days after the last time I was here, which was back in October of 23.
Yeah, I mean that's like big boy stuff, buying 6-figure cars when you're 22 or whatever. That's big decisions. So that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, and the platform alone is kind of a risk, knowing that like they they can have problems.
Oh, man,
they're old
that's
cars.
A scary car to buy.
It is. Yeah, it is. And I lucked out in the sense that this was a car that had some crash history and stuff, but it also had been driven. It had like not an absurd amount of miles.
I would argue is good.
Yeah, really good for a lot of those cars of that nature when they all have all their hydraulic fluids and all those things. It's like you just gotta keep them used. And so I've really been lucky with that car. I've gone through a front diff, and to fix that we just took it out. And we just made it rear-wheel drive. But
that's probably better anyways.
Yeah. It is. It's better.
Does it throw any lights?
No, surprisingly not. They say it's like you get lighter steering. It's better for the clutch. You could, do a little burnout if you need to or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
But this opportunity came up as soon as a lot of companies and people started to crack the what is it called, the OEM ECUs and stuff to manual swap them. And so that's what has most recently been done to that car. So,
you manual swapped it? Yeah. Like done?
Yeah, it's fully gated.
That's
EAG
so
out of Austin. It was like the second car that they did. And it's now, I would say it's, one of the best cars I've ever driven.
But it wasn't manual swap when you bought it. You did the manual swap.
EAG did it,
but I'm saying under your ownership.
Under my ownership,
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience. Was it a pain in the ass? Was it easy? Was it expensive?
It was actually, it almost felt like too easy. They were able to do it without even removing the engine or the trans whatsoever. And all it literally is because that car is an automated manual.
Right.
Yeah. It's just mating the manual, the whole shifter and everything, and the shifter rod right to the transmission, taking out the computerized portion of it, adding the third pedal. We kind of ran through like a V1 where it's like we didn't have enough pedal space. Like it's super narrow in that car. And the dead pedal on the automatics is like double the size of what it'd be on like a manual one. So like sent it back, and they like shortened it out, and they improved like the smoothness of it. I've never driven a factory manual Mercy. I've only just sat in one. So I'd love to drive one to like truly kind of compare. But as far as like how my car has been, like there's been no codes, no issues. And
that's awesome.
And I tell everyone this, that platform, you'd be lucky to get like in automatic in its E gear, you'd be lucky to get like 15,000 miles on a stock clutch. And then to do it, it's going to cost you like probably like 15 to 20K with the engine out and all that stuff. So $20,000 every 15,000 miles is not like long-term sustainable.
Bad math.
Yeah. And so I'd be driving this car, but every little thing you do when you're like roaming around a parking lot or loading and unloading or like going up a hill, like all these things, like I just can't help but feel like guilty because I'm like, oh, my clutch life is just dying every second. So now with the manual, all that stress is gone. And that's the biggest game changer. Like it's not even down to like getting to go through the gears, like how satisfying that is or all this stuff. It's really like, I actually feel like, I can go out in the car and it's not like, I'm not going to be met with, at least knock on wood, a huge bill sooner or later.
Nice. Are those engines known to be decent?
Yeah. For the most, some crazy people have twin turboed them, which I think on that car is like, that's a bomb.
Yeah.
But for the most part, as long as you take care of it and stuff, I think the engines are good. I think more so you'd probably run into just a bunch of minor hiccups with it just being a, 15-year-old Italian car that and it's also like, it's kind of a kit car when you like break it down to like how it all is made and everything, it's like funny. You just look at like a lot of those like old Italian cars from that day, like before you now have like fancy carbon monocoque frames and all these big things. Like these things, you look under the Mercy, it's just got all this like black paste all like stitched together.
But
and all
it's
this
a
stuff.
raw V12.
It is. And it's like, I would say it's the perfect balance of like what the true Lamborghini V12 experience is all about.
Have you driven an OG Countach or Diablo?
No,
Okay.
I would kill to. They're getting more and more expensive
Yeah.
to ever get to have that opportunity
That
to.
would be interesting.
But I've only had a lot of experience on like the newer Huracans, the Aventadors, and
Yeah.
like kind of the current era stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny because the way I talk about my Mercy is how people like Doug DeMiro and other people talk about like their Countaches. As far as like to
Okay,
me,
yeah.
the Mercy feels like it's like a lot of draining work to go out in.
Yeah.
Like it's.
Right.
Kind of like how you relate to like, the F5, even though that's a whole different, it's just like, there's a lot going on. It's very raw. You can't see out of it. It just kind of, when you come back home, you're kind of like, whew, you know?
Yeah.
But they talk about that like, for the Countach. So I can't even imagine like how much more work and effort is involved on that platform.
Okay.
But
What do you think the brand is that you resonate with the most?
that's a good question. When I first got my Focus RS, I would say I was a big Ford guy. I think their lineup at that time period was like the 2017 Ford Performance
Ford
lineup.
GT, Gen 3 Raptor,
Yeah.
Focus RS, Mustang 5.0.
Yep. Yeah. Just had like everything.
Explorer ST. They had
Yeah.
that kind of in that. I remember the picture with the whole.
Yep. All in the Ford Performance
lineup.
blue. Yeah.
That was-
they're all
that
in.
was cool,
Exactly.
yeah.
So yeah, definitely that at some point. But as a kid, I was always a big Lamborghini fan.
Yeah.
So huge fan of that brand as well. But I just feel like, I even forget, or like it feels surreal to me that I even withhold one now. So I don't really feel like as a part of it in that kind of sense. But but I also love Chevy, and I love the Camaro platform, and I love a lot of their other cars. I love a lot of their Vets and a lot of other things. So it's tough to choose one. I mean, the boring answer to that is I've always been a guy of huge diversity.
Yeah.
And so I think like I value that if you're going to have multiple cars, they feel way more purposeful when they, you have cars for each occasion, and they're all like very different on that end of like at one point I had, the JDM Skyline, the Euro Porsche, the Italian Mercy, and then the American Camaro, but then the off-road Raptor, like all these different things. And I will say that when you have that and they're so different, it makes it harder to sell, because then it's like to get rid of this one and it feels like such a bigger void that is no longer there. But I know a lot of people that will just, they'll just very much have an array of very similar things. But, that's also cool because I guess you find identity. And I think that's important too in the car community. Like I found that I've actually struggled to figure out like how I advertise myself and where my place in this community or as a content creator kind of is when you're dipping your toes in a bunch of different things. Whereas like Rob Dahm is the RX-7 guy, or like, all these people can be known for, specific platforms. And it's kind of cool, inspiring how, they can inspire other people to be a part of that platform, and, they can make an identity for themselves.
What's next on your list? Like, if you're anything like me, which I think we are in terms of being car psychopaths, not even car nuts, right? What's next on your attainable list in the next like few years?
Yeah, I just sold that 997 Porsche, but it was really kind of taken from me when I wasn't even like really prepared. So I very much like want to get back into that platform at some point, but it's really tough because for the budget of like, let's say a 40 to 50K, 2007 Carrera S, like anything kind of above that in the 911 world is like a huge bump up.
Yeah.
Even a .2 997 fixes like a lot of issues, but that's like another 20 grand, and everyone will see that as the exact same car too.
Right.
So to get into a turbo is like another 50, double the price, all this stuff. But so like what I would want it to be, is a higher up Porsche 911 at some point. I truly like that car. The 997 ownership truly made me understand and only further propel me down that path where I was like, I get what the hype is about. I get what people are talking about.
There is something about Porsche that really just
they just have the functionality down and all this stuff. And it's funny because I only like appreciate it from at least previously having the Mercy in the garage. Before the Mercy, I would say that like the Porsche is almost too perfect that it can almost kind of be a little boring at times.
Right.
But if you already have your crazy, flamboyant, ridiculous car, then it is a perfect pair to have a very functional, like kind of can do everything you want, machine.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I love Porsche. I was just thinking back on, you mentioned your dad earlier. Were your parents supportive? Like, you started when you were pretty young, but then out of high school, were they still supportive as you wanted to continue down that path?
My mom always wanted me to go to college, and she still does, even to this point. Even being 24 and even with everything,
things are going pretty good, and she's like, you should still go?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a traditional thing. I'm half Korean, and she's the Korean side, and like, I don't know. But yeah, it's where I get my cautious side from, and I think she gets super paranoid about a lot of things. So I think even like, yeah, it's just, I mean, it's still the wild, wild west when you're in the content creator, YouTuber world. Yeah. And so, yeah, I understand like anything can happen. And so obviously they are very proud, and they've never really like, you know, there's never been a big move or a specific thing I've wanted to do or I felt locked out of or anything of that nature. But I just know that like, I guess the traditional wants like from her side can still be there. But yeah, and then I have a younger brother who's in high school. Right? He's just learning how to drive, but he's like not in the cars. Like knows like basic stuff that typical like teenagers would. Yeah. But I always think it's funny how like it's like my proof example of like how you can't really force anything on anyone, in the sense that he would have had every inclination, whether it be the gazillions of Hot Wheels that were in our households from me, or whether it be him forced to come along to car shows when I would beg my dad to take us, to then actual crazy stuff showing up in the garage eventually. Yeah. And it was just like, it never really like, he has different interests, whether it be musical and all this stuff. So sometimes, So
do you think car guys are born? Made?
That's a great great question.
He has all the potential check marks, like where you would have guessed, well, of course he'd be into cars. He was around it for forever, but maybe not.
I would say I'm just a born car guy. Yeah. Because like, I always found them just cool. I think they're like the most attainable spaceships on the road, you know, in certain forms that you can have. But also I do think a lot of people are influenced, not even like in a bad way or one way or another, but like the amount of people that always say like they've gotten into cars because of their dad, or because they had some sort of parent figure, that led them down there, is like huge. So yeah, I mean, it could be both ways. I'd be curious to know how many just naturally born car enthusiasts there could be out there, you know? Yeah. I mean, what would you say? Like what got you down this path?
I remember being born as one. I mean, there's a couple of things that propelled me further, but I just always remember finding it very cool. So Fast and the Furious was one avenue of like, I remember being a kid, the original movies getting advertised on TV, like whatever TV I watched, Sports Center or Nickelodeon or whatever. And I just remember seeing the commercial being like, I want to watch that movie. That looks so cool. Yeah. And I had it on VHS, which is really cool. I wish I still had that. So that, and then playing Need for Speed games, playing Forza games. There was a couple, I just remember being a kid and like we'd be driving down the road, I'm in the back seat, and I'd point out all the cars. I always knew what they all were. Yeah. Somehow, I don't know. And then
it's fun. I feel like guys love to spot rare things. Yes. I've had like, I proved this to myself by when I was looking to buy my Raptor prior, I was kind of researching about all the F-150s. And so I went on the website and I learned about all the limited, the Lariat, the Platinum, all this stuff. And then I just like, when I'm out and about, I started like actually eye catching. I'm like, oh, there's a limited right there. He has the top luxury trim on that one. Yeah. And I'm like, these are just boring trucks that I would have never cared about rare. But it's like, if you teach a guy what is rare or what is like unique to spot, I feel like we will just eat it up.
Yeah. Or psychopaths. I mean, Pokemon cards, baseball, like whatever, anything that can be collectible, rare somehow. You know, and there's ladies involved too, but it feels like a very male-dominated arena of like rare collectibles. I mean, all the videos I watch are just dudes, you know, whatever, trading cars, trading rare Pokemon cards or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
NFTs even. Like, oh, if you say it's rare, then automatically somebody's going to want to buy it. Yeah. That's hilarious.
Someone adding a F5 to their collection of rare cars too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, cool. Dream car, money no object.
Oh, oh man, that's a tough one.
It's an impossible question.
Because I've never actually been like, some people dream so big to where like, yeah, they would have like a hypercar just immediately like reserved out for that. And for me, it's like, I'm like, what would I even do with, you know, something on that level? Like I just never even like had the fantasies kind of come in. I would love a 05 Ford GT. Mm-hmm. The manual, the supercharged, and the body styling is so pretty. Did you guys ever do anything with those?
Yep, we had 1,000 horsepower twin turbo where we kept the original supercharger, so it's twin charged. It was sick.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Those are cool.
So they were probably pretty instant torquey then. Yeah,
it was awesome.
Because I've seen like ones that are turboed and then the lag is like immeasurable. Yeah. I think that like I would love to just complete a garage of like the golden era of like the 2000s with like, I mean, the Mercy already being there, but like a 997 GT3 and like the 05 GT
Prayer GT.
Oh yeah 100%. Although that's like that's crazy. Even way beyond all the other ones. They're in the 1.3s or something absurd. But that was definitely like that was my my childhood era of you know, and so I've always connected with that. But even clearly the market has gone along with how well they've aged as far as what people value as well.
Very true.
I mean, what for you, dream car?
Tough question. I would say top 3. So Aston Martin did a one of one called the Victor.
Yeah. I know about that really. Yeah. That's a cool car.
Front engine V12 manual.
Yeah.
It's basically like a manual Vulcan restyled. It's insane.
It's crazy. It's like, can someone do more of those?
I know. And it's a true like one of one. Like some rich guy probably paid them $20 million to do it.
Yeah.
And will they ever do it again? I don't know. Probably not.
You're not the first person I've heard that's had interest in one of those. So
Venom GT is number 2.
Yeah.
Somehow we got to get you in one of those. They're ridiculous. It's one of the most raw and underappreciated, misunderstood cars of all time. I mean,
what's the biggest thing that differentiates it from like F5 platform? Like when you're in it,
there's some similarities, but they're very, very, very different. The Venom GT, you know, its Achilles heel and why it was so misunderstood was it was based on something else. So the F5, like the whole mission of the F5 after the Venom GT was, we're going to make this completely ground up bespoke. It's not going to be based on anything. So there's always over 6,000 new parts designed and engineered for the F5. So the Venom GT, based on a Lotus Elise, you know, people just said, well, it's just a modified Lotus. True or not, I mean, whatever. You could argue it different ways. But the fact of it was so much more beyond that. So the only things that we kept were really the interior of the cockpit, the front windshield glass, and the rear back glass.
Yeah.
Everything else, like literally everything else. So 90+% of the rest of the car was completely brand new.
Yeah.
The styling remained as Lotus, just bigger, wider, longer. So I totally understand when people would just kind of generalize that it's just a modified Lotus.
Well, so does it share the head and taillights at least of those?
Headlights and taillights. Yeah.
I feel like that's just a natural element that really identifies a car.
Yeah,
so like
totally.
Not saying that's a Lotus because of it, but I could see why people then would say so just because of little things like that, even though if you really see the car in person, I mean it's a whole different beast.
Totally. And I do understand it, so I don't blame anybody for thinking that, but it's like a message that I want to spread to people, like, just trust me, it's so misunderstood. And now that we've been through the F5 process, I'm like, okay, well, the reason why we did that back then when the Venom GT was just a dream and it was 2009 and, you know, John had this dream of doing his own car and like we had like 10 people back then.
Yeah.
So, you know, doing a project like that, even the way that the Venom GT was still millions of dollars. And going through the F5 was 10x that. I mean, it was $15-20 million just to get one car done. And just doing like just doing homologated headlights that like function, that are OEM quality. That's like millions of dollars just for headlights. So, you know, you look back to 2009, you look back to where John and the company were at the time. Yeah, like that wasn't in the cards at the time. So that's why the Venom GT was done the way it was done. So with all that being said, it's misunderstood. You know, it has an Achilles heel, but it's one of the greatest cars of all time. It's so ridiculously raw. The roof comes off, you know, it's a Targa, it's a manual, it's a twin turbo V8. There's no traction control. There's no anything.
Yeah.
The car wants to kill you. It wants to eat you alive. It wants to put you in the ditch. If you don't respect it, it will absolutely murder you. And I personally, being a psychopath, love that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm desensitized. I'm numb to so many things about speed in cars, for better or for worse. I mean, sometimes I hate it. Sometimes it's good, whatever. But so the things that excite me are things that like really want to absolutely murder me.
Yeah.
And that car is one of them.
Yeah. I can't think of many other cars that are as just clinically insane as something of that nature. I mean, even you taking me for a ride in the F5 felt like, you know, the car almost wanted to kill us, and you're probably super desensitized to how that is. So yeah, I can't even imagine something that is so much less tame.
Yeah. That's crazy. Then number 3 is F40.
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So awesome. So they're all manual.
Yep.
They're all engaging. They're all raw. But
Yeah,
that's kind of where my like car love goes. It's just stuff that's crazy.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's a good roster.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's about all the time we have today. But thank you so much for watching. Check out Jack Ultramotive on YouTube and all platforms.
Thank you.
And that concludes the Hennessy Podcast. We'll see you next time.